The world doesn't reward goodness, it rewards dominance. You were taught to be polite, to forgive, to wait your turn. But that's the programming of the broken, the invisible cage built to keep lions acting like sheep. Look around, the ruthless rise, the compliant decay. Those who smile through pain and call it patience are quietly destroyed by those who treat life as a battlefield. Every man reaches a breaking point, the moment when betrayal, loss, or humiliation strips away the illusion of fairness. That's when you face the only real choice: break or become ruthless. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago, that kindness without control is suicide, and that morality without power is a mask for the weak. To evolve, you must burn the version of yourself that cared what others thought, and rebuild from precision, logic, and power. You don't have to be cruel. You just have to stop apologizing for your strength. Because in a world ruled by wolves, mercy is just another word for prey. Comment "Ruthless" if you're done breaking. Subscribe for more cold truths they don't want you to hear. 1. Weakness is the original sin. You were taught to be kind, obedient, and forgiving, but that conditioning wasn't enlightenment. It was engineering. Every system you grew up in, from school to religion to culture, programmed you to obey, to play nice, to submit, to believe that being good meant being harmless. But here's the cold truth. Power dies where softness thrives. Weakness isn't just a flaw, it's the original sin of every man who never becomes who he could have been. Because weakness isn't innocence, it's avoidance. It's the refusal to face pain, conflict, and responsibility head on. And the world punishes that. Every time you silence your voice to keep the peace, you surrender ground. Every time you let guilt stop you from saying no, you reinforce your own change. Every time you forgive what should have been confronted, you teach others that your boundaries don't matter. The lie of modern morality is that empathy must come before strength, that kindness alone changes the world. It doesn't. It only makes you exploitable in a world run by those who are ruthless enough to act while others hesitate. The powerful still smile. But it's not out of submission, it's out of control. Their kindness is a tactic, not a weakness. They choose when to show mercy and when to strike. That's what makes it valuable. To be truly good, you must first be capable of destruction and then choose restraint. Otherwise, your goodness is meaningless. A man who cannot fight is not peaceful. He's powerless. You weren't born to be endlessly accommodating. You were born to be dangerous, to carry the potential for chaos and still control it. That's what separates a king from a servant. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. He didn't glorify cruelty. He revealed the truth that morality without power is irrelevant. The sheep's morality only exists because the wolf allows it. So if you feel torn between being good and being strong, stop. Choose strength first. Because once you possess power, you can afford to be kind on your terms. But without it, your kindness is just surrender with a smile. The man who fears being ruthless will forever be ruled by those who aren't. So train your mind, harden your body, guard your time. Stop apologizing for your ambition. Stop explaining your boundaries. And stop confusing niceness with virtue. They are not the same thing. You don't need to become cruel. You just need to stop worshiping weakness. Because the truth is simple. The world doesn't fall to the most righteous. It bends to the most relentless. Weakness is the original sin, and every day you tolerate it in yourself, in your habits, in your circle, you pay the price in silence. Choose to become dangerous. Choose to become unbreakable. Only then can your kindness actually mean something. 2. Suffering doesn't break you, it exposes you. Pain doesn't create character, it reveals it. Most men think they'll rise when things get hard, but pressure doesn't turn you into something new. It only shows you what was already there. Suffering strips away the mask. It tears off every layer of delusion, comfort, and ego you've built to protect yourself from truth. And when that happens, most men collapse, not because the pain is too heavy, but because they were never built for reality. They were built for comfort. You can tell who's real when the storm hits. The pretenders run to distraction, alcohol, women, dopamine, validation, anything to avoid the mirror that pain forces them to face. But the rare ones, the ruthless ones, stand still and let the fire burn. They don't pray for relief. They let the pain sharpen them. Suffering doesn't ask for permission. It arrives uninvited and dismantles everything fake inside you. It kills the version of you that was built on lies, and if you resist it, it will keep killing you until you surrender. Because here's the truth. Pain is the only honest teacher. Motivation fades, advice wears off, but pain, it gets under your skin. It changes how you breathe, how you see the world, how you treat your time. It's not polite, it's not fair, but it's pure. Most men avoid suffering their entire lives, and because of that, they never meet themselves. They live and die as strangers to their own potential. They never discover the parts of them that only activate under extreme heat. Like steel, you don't know your strength until you've been forged in fire. Comfort hides weakness. Pain exposes it. And exposure is liberation, because once you've seen the truth, you can't lie to yourself anymore. You can no longer hide behind excuses or blame luck or pretend you're trying. You either become the man who endures or the man who escapes. Machiavelli understood this long before self-help culture existed. It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret. He knew that power belongs to those who endure discomfort, not those who pray to avoid it. The weak seek escape. The strong seek understanding. When life punches them in the face, they don't ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What is this trying to show me?" The truth is, every loss, betrayal, or failure you've ever faced was a test, not of your luck, but of your foundation. Did it break you because you were fragile, or did it reveal that you were already hollow? Suffering doesn't make you strong by default. It gives you the opportunity to choose strength when everything in you wants to quit. That's where power is born, not from victories, but from the moments when quitting would have been justified, yet you didn't. That's the essence of ruthlessness, not cruelty, but clarity under chaos. If pain doesn't change you, it will destroy you. If you don't transform through it, you'll transmit it to your relationships, your work, your self-image. So stop asking for an easy path. Stop begging for peace before you've earned it. Instead, lean into your suffering with eyes open. Feel it, study it, let it strip away what's fake. Because after the pain, what remains is real, uncheckable. Suffering doesn't break you. It exposes you. It shows you exactly where you're soft, where you're dependent, where you still crave comfort over freedom. And once you see that, once you see the coward within, you can finally kill him. That's when you stop being the victim of your story and start becoming its author. That's when suffering becomes sacred, because it revealed the truth. You were never weak. You were just untested. 3. Compassion without discipline breeds victims. You can't save people who enjoy being weak. You can't help a man who clings to his chains. Mercy without merit doesn't heal. It corrupts. It turns your strength into someone else's crutch. And Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Men must either be caressed or annihilated, meaning you either help with purpose or you destroy with precision. Anything in between breeds dependency. Modern kindness has been hijacked by weakness. People confuse compassion with compliance, forgiveness with foolishness, and empathy with enslavement. The truth is, unchecked compassion creates parasites. It teaches the ungrateful that they can take without consequence, complain without contribution, and demand without discipline. Every man who rises learns this the hard way. You are not obligated to carry those who refuse to walk. You can throw them ropes, but they'll turn them into nooses. You can share your food, but they'll curse you for not feeding them fast enough. That's the nature of the weak when they're unchallenged. They don't evolve, they consume. True compassion is not softness. It's measured mercy, the kind that helps those willing to fight, not those addicted to being saved. There's a brutal wisdom in restraint. Helping too much kills growth. If you constantly protect people from consequences, you rob them of pain. And pain is the only thing that forces evolution. That's why the most dangerous form of kindness is the one that shields people from reality. Because reality is the only teacher that never lies. Look around. The modern world glorifies victimhood. It rewards weakness with sympathy, excuses, and attention. People weaponize suffering to avoid accountability. And the kind keep feeding it, afraid of being called cold, arrogant, or heartless. But compassion without discipline is cowardice dressed as virtue. It's the refusal to enforce boundaries because you fear rejection more than you value integrity. A man who cannot say no is not kind, he's controlled. A man who refuses to demand excellence from others doesn't love them, he's enabling their decay. If you truly care for someone, you must be willing to let them face discomfort. You must be willing to let them fall, bleed, and rebuild without rushing in to fix it for them. Because only through pain do they meet themselves. The strongest leaders throughout history, warriors, philosophers, kings, practiced ruthless compassion. They helped only the ones who showed potential, hunger, and discipline. Everyone else was left behind, not out of cruelty, but out of respect for nature's order. Machiavelli would call this strategic mercy, compassion guided by consequence. You never give help that weakens the receiver. You give only what multiplies their power. If your mercy breeds dependence, it's not compassion, it's ego. You're helping because it makes you feel needed, not because it helps them grow. That's not virtue. That's vanity. The world doesn't need more nice people. It needs strong ones. People with compassion sharp enough to cut through delusion. People who can say, I love you, but I will not tolerate your weakness. I care for you, but I will not save you from your own laziness. I'll help you rise, but only if you're willing to climb. That's what real love looks like, tough, selective, and disciplined. Because if you rescue everyone, you'll drown first. And if you never let people suffer, they'll never learn to stand. True compassion is earned through strength, not softness. It demands wisdom to know who to help, courage to say no, and detachment to walk away when your help becomes a burden. Machiavelli would remind you, mercy is a tool, not a moral duty. Use it to build warriors, not victims. Use it to forge allies, not addicts. Use it to strengthen, not to soothe. Because the truth is simple. When compassion lacks discipline, it breeds victims. When mercy lacks merit, it feeds parasites. And when your heart moves faster than your mind, you become their prey. So love fiercely, but with precision. Forgive wisely, but with boundaries. And never let your empathy outgrow your discernment. Because only the disciplined can afford to be compassionate. Everyone else is just being used. 4. Forgiveness is a luxury of the strong. Forgiveness is not a virtue. It's leverage. The weak forgive because they have no other option. They can't retaliate, so they disguise their helplessness as maturity. They call it letting go, but what it really is surrender, a quiet admission that they lack the strength to act. The strong forgive because they could destroy and choose not to. That's the difference. Machiavelli would tell you, mercy means nothing without power. A man without teeth who claims to be peaceful is not virtuous. He's harmless. But a man who possesses the power to strike, yet controls it, commands fear and respect. That's the essence of real forgiveness. It's not a spiritual performance. It's a strategic restraint. It says I could ruin you, but you're not worth my energy. Forgiveness in its purest form is not about morality. It's about hierarchy. It separates those who control their emotions from those who are enslaved by them. Because here's the truth, revenge is emotional. Forgiveness is calculated. Weak men forgive to seem noble. Strong men forgive to stay unbothered. They understand that carrying hatred is expensive. It burns bandwidth, focus, and peace. And nothing weakens a ruler faster than obsession with payback. That doesn't mean you forget. No, the strong never forget. They document every betrayal, every deceit, every face that smiled while plotting behind their back. But instead of reacting, they record. Instead of exploding, they evolve. Forgiveness to them is a form of delayed execution, not of others, but of self-ignorance. It's the act of saying, you taught me who you are. I won't punish you. I'll just move so far ahead that you'll never reach me again. That's the Machiavellian difference between forgiveness as a strategy and forgiveness as a virtue. Virtue-based forgiveness is performative. It seeks validation. It wants applause for being the bigger person. But power-based forgiveness is silent. It doesn't boast about peace. It simply disappears into progress. The truly powerful understand something most never do. Holding grudges keeps you tied to weakness. Every second spent replaying betrayal is energy stolen from your empire. The kings who win long-term wars aren't the ones who kill fastest. They're the ones who wait longest. They forgive not because they're kind, but because they're patient. They know the universe always collects its debts, and time punishes far more cruelly than vengeance ever could. You see, forgiveness isn't submission, it's superiority. It's the calm that comes from knowing no one can actually hurt you anymore. When you've built yourself to a place of emotional and strategic dominance, betrayal becomes data, not disaster. You don't take it personally. You take it philosophically. You analyze, adjust, and ascend. The masses equate forgiveness with moral purity, but the Machiavellian mind sees it as emotional economy. You forgive because rage is a poor investment. It yields nothing but exhaustion. The strong don't waste emotion on revenge. They transmute it into evolution. They turn betrayal into motivation. They turn humiliation into hunger. They turn scars into armor. And by the time their enemies look back, the powerful are already unrecognizable, reborn, unreachable, and untouchable. That's why only the powerful can forgive. Because forgiveness without the ability to punish isn't forgiveness, it's compliance. The weak call forgiveness healing, the strong call it strategy, because they understand that nothing breaks your enemies more than your indifference. Nothing hurts a traitor like being forgotten by the man they tried to destroy. You don't need revenge when you become the proof of what they lost. You don't need closure when you've built empires beyond their comprehension. You don't need to prove anything, because your existence becomes the retribution. Forgiveness, when done right, isn't peace. It's power in disguise. It's the quiet whisper that says, I remember everything. I just don't care anymore. That's not softness. That's sovereignty. That's not weakness. That's warfare with grace. So don't forgive to appear noble. Forgive to remain dangerous. Forgive because your energy is too valuable to waste on emotional debtors. Forgive because your empire demands your full focus. And when they finally realize that your silence wasn't mercy, it was dominance, that's when they'll understand what true forgiveness feels like, being erased from the mind of the man they could never break. 5. The world rewards ruthlessness, not fairness. Fairness is a bedtime story told to keep the masses obedient. The world has never been fair. It has only been strategic. The strong understand this early. The weak spend their lives waiting for justice that never comes. They play by the rules written by men who profit when they lose. They believe virtue will crown them, not realizing crowns are taken, never given. History doesn't remember who was kind. It remembers who won. Empires weren't built through fairness. They were built through precision, ambition, and the ability to make decisions that others were too sentimental to make. Machiavelli understood this truth better than anyone. Morality without power is theater. It looks good on stage, but it collapses in the arena. You can be kind, you can be good, but if you are not powerful, your goodness will be exploited. Your kindness will be converted into control. The wolves don't respect sheep who pray for fairness. They respect wolves who hunt with intention. The idea of fairness is a social illusion, a moral leash tied around the necks of men afraid to fight. It's what keeps you from asking for what you deserve. It's what convinces you that playing small is noble. But the truth? The world rewards aggression dressed as confidence. It bows to those who move first, decide fast, and never apologize for taking what they've earned. Every system, from politics to business to relationships, operates on the same law. Ruthlessness disguised as order. Behind every polite smile is a power struggle. Behind every corporate logo is a battlefield. Behind every fair deal is someone who negotiated harder. If you believe fairness will protect you, you've already lost. Because fairness assumes equality, and equality doesn't exist in nature. Lions don't share meals with gazelles. Oceans don't apologize to rivers. Power doesn't negotiate with weakness. The moment you start expecting fairness, you place your destiny in someone else's hands. You become dependent on their mercy instead of your own merit. Ruthlessness isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's the understanding that survival doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards decisiveness. A ruthless man doesn't wake up looking to destroy others. He simply refuses to be destroyed by their comfort, manipulation, or guilt. He plays the game as it is, not as it should be. And that's why he wins. You've been told that being ruthless makes you heartless. But the truth is, ruthlessness is the highest form of self-respect. It's saying, I refuse to sacrifice my destiny for the comfort of others. Because fairness demands compromise, and compromise dilutes greatness. The men who built empires didn't wait for permission. They took space. They shaped reality. They were willing to be hated in the short term, to be remembered in the long term. Ask yourself, do you want to be liked, or do you want to be feared and respected? Do you want to be remembered for your compassion or for your capacity to command? Because make no mistake, the men who run the world are not the ones who played fair. They are the ones who understood the cost of hesitation. To be fair is to hope for balance. To be ruthless is to create it. Ruthlessness doesn't mean cruelty. It means refusing to let guilt dictate your potential. It means being strategic when others are sentimental. It means doing what must be done, even if no one claps. The powerful don't wait for fairness. They manufacture advantage. They don't hope to be chosen. They make themselves unignorable. They don't ask for seats at the table. They build the table and decide who gets to sit. That's the Machiavellian principle. The world belongs to those who can stomach its brutality without becoming emotional about it. Because power is not about fairness, it's about function. And in the game of life, function always wins. Fairness is what the powerless cling to when they've run out of options. Ruthlessness is what the powerful embrace when they've decided never to beg again. So stop asking for a fair fight. There's no such thing. Fight to win. Think to dominate. Move to rule. Because the world doesn't hand out trophies for kindness, only territory for conquest. And if you're not ruthless enough to claim what's yours, you'll spend your life serving the men who are. 6. Empathy must be controlled, not erased. Coldness isn't cruelty, it's calibration. The strongest men aren't heartless. They've simply mastered when and how to use their heart. Empathy is power, but only when it's disciplined. Uncontrolled empathy is emotional suicide. It's giving your energy to people who drain it, your time to people who waste it, and your loyalty to people who never earned it. Modern culture tells men to stay soft, be understanding, feel everything, but unchecked empathy doesn't make you wise, it makes you weak. It blinds you to manipulation, guilt, and hidden agendas. It teaches you to comfort others at the cost of betraying yourself. Machiavelli knew this long before psychology caught up. A ruler must be feared and respected, not loved for his sympathy. Because love is fleeting, but respect endures. The ruthless man still feels deeply, but he doesn't leak emotion. He channels it. His empathy is a tool, not a chain. He listens with precision, not pity. He feels pain, but doesn't drown in it. He observes suffering without being consumed by it. This is the paradox of true strength, to be both aware of pain and untouched by it. Empathy, when properly controlled, becomes a weapon of influence. It allows you to read people's motives, to sense their fears, to predict their moves. It gives you an invisible map of human weakness, one that the cold sociopath will never understand. Because true ruthlessness isn't numbness, it's control. The difference between a tyrant and a tactician is empathy. A tyrant destroys without thought. A tactician dissects without emotion. The ruthless man chooses when to feel and when to act. Every man who seeks power must learn emotional discipline. Without it, your compassion becomes a leash one others will gladly pull. They'll weaponize your kindness, twist your empathy into obligation, and drain your focus with their chaos. That's why the powerful don't give empathy freely. They allocate it. They treat it like currency, valuable when invested, destructive when wasted. Empathy is not an obligation, it's a privilege. Not everyone deserves your understanding. Not everyone earns your softness. To feel for all is to feel for none, because it robs you of clarity. In war, the general who hesitates out of pity loses soldiers. In business, the leader who can't fire the incompetent destroys the mission. In relationships, the man who excuses disrespect becomes invisible. Controlled empathy means knowing when to care and when to close the door. It means you can comfort your brother and confront your enemy with the same face. It means you can show love without surrendering power. The ruthless man's heart beats, but it beats on command. Understand this. Suppression is weakness. Mastery is strength. A man who represses emotion will explode. A man who commands it becomes untouchable. The goal isn't to kill your empathy. It's to train it like a blade. Sharp enough to protect, but never to wound yourself. The coldness you feel rising in your journey toward greatness isn't inhuman. It's evolution. You're not losing your soul. You're refining it. You're learning that love without limits turns to weakness, and emotion without logic turns to chaos. The modern world will shame you for this. They'll call you cold, toxic, emotionless. But these labels come from those who can't control their own chaos, those who confuse compassion with compliance. Empathy must serve your mission, not sabotage it. Feel deeply, but think clearly. Care, but calculate. Help, but never at your own expense. Because the man who can master his empathy commands the battlefield of human nature. He becomes both warrior and philosopher, capable of mercy, yet incapable of manipulation. The weak use empathy to excuse inaction. The strong use it to understand, then to strike. That's the Machiavellian balance. Emotion as intelligence, not interference. The heart is a weapon when it's sharpened by reason. But if you let it swing wildly, it'll cut you first. So don't erase your empathy, refine it. Make it precise. Make it strategic. Let it serve your vision, not the noise of others. Because in a world where everyone feels too much and thinks too little, the man who can do both but in order rules. 7. To build power, you must first become the villain. Every strong man is painted as a monster before he's honored as a master. Because power disrupts comfort, and those who live in comfort always demonize what they can't control. When you decide to rise, you become a threat to the system that profits from your weakness. You stop smiling when told. You stop obeying without reason. You stop apologizing for wanting more, and the world brands you arrogant, selfish, cold. But here's the truth. Every revolution begins with a villain. Christ was hated before he was followed. Machiavelli was exiled for speaking truth about power. Every emperor, every innovator, every warrior who shifted the axis of history had to first carry the weight of being misunderstood, because greatness is violence to the mediocre. The average man seeks harmony, not truth. He fears conflict, avoids judgment, and worships approval, all the traits designed to keep him forgettable. But the man who builds power knows this. You cannot be both liked and legendary. Society teaches you to be agreeable, but power demands polarity. You either attract or repel, command or comply. And to command, you must embrace being feared before you're respected. The rise of every strong man begins with defiance. Not blind rebellion, strategic disobedience. You must reject the moral conditioning that tells you ambition is greed, confidence is arrogance, and authority is oppression. Those lies were engineered to keep lions apologizing to sheep. The villain is not evil, he's awake. He's the man who stops sacrificing himself to please people who would never do the same for him. He stops justifying his strength to those threatened by it. He becomes polarizing, and in doing so, unforgettable. This is the dark price of evolution. Before the world claps for you, it curses you. Before it respects you, it resents you. Before it follows you, it fears you. That's the crucible of transformation, when you're willing to be hated for being true. Power is not built in applause. It's forged in resistance. You will lose friends. You will attract critics. You will be accused of things you never did, and misunderstood for things you did perfectly. But that's how the world tests your conviction. Do you still move when your reputation bleeds? Do you still build when no one believes? Do you still command when they call you cruel? Most men break there. They retreat back into comfort, repaint themselves as nice, and call it maturity. But the chosen few double down. They turn the noise into armor. They learn that reputation is a tool, not an identity. Machiavelli said it best. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Fear creates respect faster than love creates loyalty. And the man who can handle being feared without becoming chaotic becomes unstoppable. You see, the villain archetype isn't evil. It's the shadow side of power. The part of you that doesn't ask for permission to exist. Every great leader has it. Every visionary hides it behind charisma. Every empire is built on its strength. But here's the twist. The villain only remains one to those who never understood his mission. Because once results appear, once power is undeniable, the same crowd that condemned you will rewrite your story. History always edits its heroes, and the man who was once ruthless becomes visionary. The cold becomes calculated. The arrogant becomes legendary. So stop chasing image. Let them call you what they need to justify their mediocrity. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be remembered. To build power, you must first accept isolation. You must detach from validation. You must learn to carry the weight of being seen as the villain while staying loyal to your mission. Because those who chase approval will always kneel to those who don't, and those who fear judgment will forever serve those who wield it. Let them whisper. Let them misunderstand. Let them label you whatever helps them sleep. Their comfort is none of your concern. You are not here to be harmless. You are here to become history. Every empire begins with one decision: to stop being liked, and to start being feared just enough to be respected. That's the path of the Machiavellian man, ruthless, precise, and untouchable. Because in a world that worships fake virtue, the man who embraces his shadow becomes divine. 8. Ruthlessness is evolution, not evil. Ruthlessness isn't cruelty. It's clarity. It's the moment you stop begging the world to be fair and start building a life that doesn't depend on mercy. You weren't born soft. You were conditioned to be. From childhood, they told you to play nice, wait your turn, and share everything, while the world quietly rewarded those who took, decided, and led. And by the time you realized it, the game was already rigged. That's when the evolution begins, the death of the naive man. When you finally see that kindness without boundaries invites exploitation. When you realize that being good in a world built on hierarchy only guarantees that you'll serve the strong. Ruthlessness is not about harm. It's about hierarchy. It's choosing to play offense in a world full of victims waiting for fairness. It's the courage to say, I will no longer live by other people's scripts. The ruthless man doesn't destroy. He decides. He sees the board, reads the pieces, and plays to win, not to be seen as noble. Because nobility without results is just performance. Look around. The world you live in was built by men who refused to apologize for their age. Empires, revolutions, billion-dollar companies, all born from the will of those who could take rejection, ridicule, and blood, and still keep moving. While others argued about fairness, they mastered leverage. While others sought peace, they built power. Ruthlessness is evolution because it's nature reasserting itself. The lion doesn't hate the gazelle, it just doesn't care. It acts according to design, and so must you. When you stop apologizing for your hunger, life stops testing you. When you stop explaining your ambition, doors start opening, not because the world becomes fairer, but because you finally command it. Most men rot in mediocrity because they confuse morality with passivity. They think doing the right thing means doing nothing that offends anyone. But morality without power is theater, and weakness dressed as virtue only breeds resentment. A ruthless man understands balance. He knows when to act with grace and when to strike without hesitation. He knows that peace is a strategy, not a lifestyle. He can love deeply, but never let love make him blind. He can forgive, but never forget. Because to forget is to invite the same betrayal twice. This is the paradox of strength. The more ruthless you become, the more peace you earn. Because chaos only consumes those who hesitate. When your boundaries are sharp, the world respects your space. When your decisions are final, people think twice before wasting your time. Ruthlessness in its highest form is self-respect in motion. It's saying no without explanation. It's cutting ties with weakness. It's walking away from noise, emotion, and guilt, all the weapons used to keep you tame. And yes, it will make people uncomfortable, because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your decisiveness exposes their doubt. Your silence exposes their need for validation. They'll call you cold, arrogant, selfish. anything to make themselves feel morally superior to the man who finally stopped serving their comfort. But remember this, the world never hated the ruthless man because he was evil. It hated him because he stopped being controllable. You can't manipulate a man who knows what he wants. You can't guilt a man who knows his worth. You can't threaten a man who's ready to lose everything fake to gain everything real. That's the final stage of evolution, when fear no longer governs your choices. You don't chase approval, money, or peace. You create them strategically on your own terms. You become both weapon and wisdom, the perfect balance of precision and principle. Machiavelli said, "Man should be either caressed or annihilated, because mercy given to those who exploit it always returns as betrayal, and mercy given to yourself in the form of excuses always returns as regret. So stop trying to be harmless. The world doesn't need another soft soul wishing for fairness. It needs calibrated power, men who can protect, lead, and build because they've learned when to be gentle and when to be ruthless. Be both. Be the calm and the storm. Be the silence and the strike. Because in the end, evolution rewards those who adapt, not those who hope. And in this world, to survive is to dominate, not through hate, but through mastery, not through cruelty, but through clarity. The ruthless don't destroy life, they command it. And once you taste that power, you never go back to asking for permission again. In a world obsessed with softness, the ruthless stand out, not as villains, but as visionaries. They're the ones who stopped waiting for fairness and started building their own order. While the weak drown in emotion, the evolved man uses it as fuel. While others beg for peace, he creates it through control. Ruthlessness isn't about harming others. It's about mastering yourself. It's the discipline to protect your energy, the courage to say no without guilt, the strength to walk away from what no longer aligns with your vision. Most people never awaken to this truth. They live their lives defending their limitations, praying for mercy from systems designed to exploit them. But not you. You're here because some part of you knows softness won't save you. Only strength will. So become both sword and sanctuary. Let your silence cut through noise. Let your boundaries rewrite your destiny. And when they call you ruthless, smile. Because that word simply means you finally stopped letting the world break you. The new age belongs to the decisive, the disciplined, the dangerous. You've seen the illusion. Now master the game. If this message hit you, drop a ruthless in the comments. Subscribe to join the Guru Clan, the brotherhood of men who refuse mediocrity and choose power.